Hello students. Today we will be discussing on module 5, that is of water resource management, on water harvesting and conservation. The outline of today's class goes like this: water harvesting techniques, micro catchments, design of small water harvesting structures, that is farm ponds and percolation tanks, yield from catchment, rainwater harvesting, that is various techniques related to rural as well as urban area. But in today's class we'll be addressing only water harvesting techniques. Before going to water harvesting techniques, let us define what is water harvesting and what is water conservation. Water harvesting is collection, storage and reuse of rainwater in general. But when we talk about rainwater harvesting, in the broadest sense, it is a technique which collects and stores roof runoff which can be used further for non-potable sources within agriculture, domestic, commercial, institutional and industrial sectors, and even as drinking water after some treatment. So the next will be why rainwater harvesting has to be done. I mean the need of rainwater harvesting to overcome the inadequacy of surface water in order to meet our daily demands or the increasing population. With the increase in population, we are lag with what called as in order to increase the surface water. So we are getting inadequate amount of surface water. So rainwater harvesting is necessary. The second one is to arrest decline in the groundwater levels. A groundwater level is getting reduced because of abrupt use of what called as groundwater resources without planning to recharge the groundwater resource. The third point is to enhance availability of groundwater at specific place and time, because especially we fall lack in terms of hot season or summer what we say. So in order to do that, whatever the excess water we get during rainfall can be recharged, which can be utilized during dry periods. The fourth is to increase infiltration of rainwater in the subsoil. We need to plan in such a way that water which is harvested to be dropped down or taken down to a larger depth so that we can recharge the groundwater table and we can take this water into the deeper layer. To improve groundwater quality by dilution, to increase agricultural production, to increase the ecology of the area by increase in vegetation cover, to reduce urban flooding, soil erosion and effects of drought. Because in order to overcome all these problems, we need rainwater harvesting. Yes, how best we can do this rainwater harvesting? A rainwater harvesting system comprises components of various stages: transporting rainwater through pipes or drains, filtration, and storage in tanks for reuse or recharge. Here are some of the common components of a rainwater harvesting system which is involved in the stages addressed below. Those are catchments, coarse mesh, gutters, conduits, first flush, filters, storage facility, and recharge structure. Let us study one by one in detail. Yes, this is a catchment. You just can see in the figure wherein rainwater falls on this terrace or a catchment area, what we say. The catchment of which directly receives the rainfall, the catchment of what called as water harvesting system is the surface which directly receives the rainfall and provides water to the system. It can be a paved area like a terrace or courtyard of a building, or an unpaved area like a lawn or open ground. A roof made of reinforced cement concrete RCC, or it might be a galvanized iron or corrugated sheet, which can also be used for water harvesting. Yes, the second component is coarse mesh. At the roof, in order to prevent the passage of debris, preferably we provide a grill kind, a coarse mesh, which prevents the passage of debris. The third one is gutters. You just can see the gutters here. which is a silver color line, and this channels all around the edge of the sloping roof in order to collect and transport rainwater to the storage tank. These gutters are provided. Gutters can be semicircular or rectangular and could be made using locally available materials such as plain galvanized iron sheet, preferably of 20 to 22 gauge, folded to required shapes, and sometimes we prefer semicircular gutters of PVC material which can be readily prepared by cutting those pipes into two equal semicircular channels, or sometimes we do prefer bamboo or beetle trunks cut vertically in half. And the size of the gutter should be according to the flow during the highest intensity rain, and it is advisable to make them 10 to 15% oversize. Gutters need to be supported so they do not sag or fall off when loaded with water. The way in which gutters are fixed depends on the construction of the house. It is possible to fix iron or timber brackets into the walls, but for houses having wider eaves, some method of attachment of the rafters is necessary. This is a picture of gutters. The next component is conduits. Conduits are pipelines. You just can see in the image connecting to the catchment, you can see a conduit which is further connected to a settlement tank. These are the pipelines or drains that carry rainwater from the catchment or rooftop area to the harvesting system. Conduits can be of any material like PVC, that is polyvinyl chloride, or galvanized iron materials which are commonly available. Sometimes we change the diameter of the pipe with respect to average rate of rainfall in mm per hour. And it has been also mentioned in National Building Code also regarding what should be the diameter of pipe with a rate of rainfall. This is about conduits. First flushing. A first flush device is a valve that ensures that runoff from the first spell of rain is flushed out and does not enter the system directly. This needs to be done since the first spell of rain carries a relatively larger amount of pollutants from the air and catchment surface. For that purpose, you just can see the channel there. In order to recharge, you have a diversion wall, and below that there is a provision in order to go for drain. It directly doesn't go because the pollutant should not obstruct the flow. That's what they take care in order to recharge, and it can be controlled by a diversion valve provided, which you can see in the image here. The next component is filter, which plays a vital role. A filter is used to remove suspended pollutants from rainwater collected over roof. A filter unit is a chamber filled with filtering media such as fiber, coarse sand, and gravel layers in order to remove debris and dirt from water before it enters the storage tank or recharge structure. Charcoal can be added for additional filtration. We have different kinds of filters. Let us address few of them. The first image what you can see is a charcoal water filter. It's a simple charcoal filter which is made in a drum or an earthen pot, and the filter is made of gravel, sand, and charcoal, all of which are easily available. You just can see at the bottom we have gravel layer, on that top we have sand layer, charcoal layer, and above we have gravel layer again. This is a kind of filter. And in the second figure you just can see the sand filters, which are commonly available sand as a filter media. Sand filters are easy and inexpensive to construct. These filters can be employed for treatment of water to effectively remove the turbidity, like suspended particles which are like silt, clay or so, and it also helps in removing the color and microorganisms too. In a simple sand filter that can be constructed domestically, usually the top layer comprises of coarse sand followed by a 5 to 10 layer of gravel followed by another 5 to 25 centimeter layer of gravels or boulders. I mean still coarser material. Apart from that, we also have the vast filter for large rooftops. We have sumps, and also we have horizontal roughing filter and slow sand filter. There are a number of filters which can be utilized for rainwater harvesting depending on the availability of materials and depending on the catchment area. Yes, the next is storage facility. When we talk about storage facility, there are various options available for construction of these tanks with respect to the shape, size and material of the construction. Shape, preferably we go for cylindrical, rectangular and square type. And the material used for construction is preferably RCC, that is reinforced cement concrete. Sometimes we go for ferro cement, masonry, plastic, that is polyethylene or metal. Metal means preferably we go for GI, that is galvanized iron sheets, which are commonly used. And what could be the position of tank? Depending on space availability, these tanks could be constructed above ground, partly underground or fully underground. Some maintenance measures like cleaning and disinfection are required in order to ensure the quality of water which is stored in the container. And the last part is recharge structure. Rainwater may be charged into the groundwater aquifers through any suitable structures like dug wells, bore wells, recharge trenches and recharge pits. We have various recharge structures which are possible, some which promote the percolation of water through soil strata at shallower depth, whereas others conduct water to greater depths from where it joins the groundwater. At many locations, existing structures like wells, pits, and tanks can be modified as recharge structures, eliminating the need to construct any structure afresh. We have n number of recharging methods. To name few, we have recharging of dug wells and abandoned tube wells. We have settlement tanks. We have recharging of service tube wells. We have recharge pits. You just can see in the image which is called as soak pit or percolation pit. This percolation pit is one of the easiest and most effective means of harvesting rainwater and are generally not more than 60 by 60 by 60 centimeter pits, specially designed on the basis of expected runoff as described for the same settlement tanks. And they are filled with the pebbles which you can see here, or brick jelly, brick bats what we say, and in between the voids are filled with river sand and again covered with the perforated concrete slabs wherever necessary, and there will be a pipe in between. This is how it helps in recharging the groundwater. This is the image of soak pits, and apart from that we also have recharge trenches, recharge troughs, modified injection wells, wherein by which we can recharge the groundwater, or these are called as recharge structures. These all are the components of rainwater harvesting. Yes, after studying this component of rainwater harvesting system, let us address the water harvesting techniques. The techniques usually aim to maximize the available water through water harvesting and conservation. Water harvesting techniques gather water from an area termed the catchment area and channel it to the cropping area or wherever it is required. Conservation techniques conserve water within the biomass and the soil by reducing runoff and keeping the water where it falls as much as possible. So let us discuss some of the principles of water harvesting and conservation. In deciding which techniques to use to make more efficient use of available water, it is important to consider how crops receive or lose water. Crops receive water through rainfall, irrigation, and stored soil water. They lose it through runoff, evaporation, and drainage. So, there are some key principles on effective water management. The first one is use rainwater effectively. In many climates, rainfall is distributed unevenly in intense downpours that cannot be readily used by a crop. Storage techniques such as external catchments, rooftop harvesting increases the availability of water in the drier season. They also harvest water from a wider area, making more water available to the crop. Measures can also be taken to avoid the rainwater running off the surface during intense rainfall. So, we need to use rainwater effectively. The second principle says make effective use of soil water reserves. The soil stores water from rainfall, providing a reserve that is available to the crop. How much water is available depends on the type of soil and the rooting system of the crop. Let us take an example of sandy soil. Sandy soil holds much less water than clay or silt soils, so crops will require watering more often. Deeper rooting crops such as grasses or cereals will exploit soil water reserves more effectively than shallower rooting crops such as vegetable crops and therefore can be grown in drier periods. Good cultivation practices, for example, not plowing too deep or when the soil is wet. Good cultivation practices results in soft, friable soil which also promotes deep rooting and efficient use of soil water reserve. So we need to make effective use of soil water reserves. The third principle says take measures to avoid runoff. Runoff is where water is not absorbed by the soil but runs across the surface away from where the crop can use it. Structures such as contour schemes, terracing, pits and bunds can reduce runoff. Runoff is more likely to occur on silty or clayey soils where the surface has been subjected to intense rainfall, then baked in the sun to form a crust or cap. Adding mulch in order to break up the intensity of the rainfall or adding manure, compost or incorporating green manures reduces which will reduce the tendency of the soil to form a crust. So we need to take measures in order to avoid the runoff. Fourth one is avoid wasting water through evaporation. Water that evaporates directly from the bare soil is wasteful as it is not being used for productive plant growth. It is desirable to maintain full ground cover for as much of the time as practically possible. Applying mulch to the soil will also reduce evaporation considerably, and use of drip irrigation and irrigating in the evening will also reduce the amount of water lost through evaporation. The fifth principle says reduce water losses through drainage. When water drains out of the soil, not only it is wasted but essential mobile nutrients such as nitrogen are also washed out. This is more of a problem on light sandy soils. And adding again organic matter in the form of compost, manures or plant residues will eventually increase the amount of water of a soil which can retain, but this will only have an effect if it is added over a longer period or years. Most drainage occurs during the heavy rains, especially if the soil is left bare. Growing a cash or cover crop during this period reduces the losses, as the root uplifts the water and nutrients back from deeper to the shallower soil profiles. This is why we need to reduce water losses through drainage. And the last principle says we need to plan irrigation. Irrigation is one way of supplementing water from rainfall and soil reserves, but can waste large amounts of water if not used carefully. A key way of making the most of the water supply is to only irrigate when necessary. And many people irrigate on a regular basis whether the crop needs it or not. But it should not be done. If water is scarce, irrigation should be restricted to the most critical periods, such as during germination or during fruit set. Drip irrigation makes much better use of water than overhead system, as it is targeted to the roots rather than sprayed up into the air. Yes, thank you, students. And the next class will be dealing with water harvesting techniques. There are almost around 16 techniques which will be addressed in next class. So save water for the next generation. Let us implement or involve in our day-to-day life how best we can conserve water, save water for the next generation and for our generation too. Thank you.